This episode of the ABIC podcast is brought to you by Cicadia Australia. Hello and welcome to the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC podcast. What if the real secret to success isn't just hard work, but rewiring your brain to think differently? Welcome to the ABIC podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's guest is Nicola Le Lievre. Nicola is a powerhouse in every sense, from building one of Western Australia's most successful clinic empires, 10 clinics in 10 years, to now leading public relations for Cicadia Australia. Nicola's journey is one of resilience, evolution, and unapologetic self-belief. Nicola is also the co-author of Back Yourself, a book that blends neuroscience with personal growth to help you push past fear, build mental discipline, and unlock your full potential. In this episode of the ABIC podcast, we unpack the science of resilience, the mindset behind elite performance, and the emotional intelligence it takes to thrive in business and life. You'll learn how to make decisions faster, rise above industry noise, and build a brand that's both magnetic and meaningful. If you're ready to stop second-guessing yourself and start thinking like a leader, this conversation is your blueprint. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Nicola. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you this morning.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. I always gain so many insights, Nicola, and I think you and I can talk for hours and hours.
There's always a lot to talk about in our industry, in our field, us being women. As you know, my big core value is, I believe, as one woman, we're strong, but collectively we're unstoppable. So I love this connection and communication that we have between myself as a brand and ABIC and you and I, and we've known each other for a long time, and it's just great to always just connect and talk about new things and inspire others, and that's, I think, safe to say we're both really passionate about that, having an impact on other people.
I think that really shines through our passion, and I think we'll get a lot of passion and excitement throughout this whole episode, because we are talking about beliefs and kind of smashing those misconceptions about ourselves and what our potential is. But before we actually get into the podcast, Nicola, please, for those who haven't heard about you, tell us about yourself, your life, and your career. It's been such an exciting journey.
It really has, and thank you, Steph, for that wonderful introduction. I grew up in South Africa. I always tell the story of how my mum had her legs waxed in a pharmacy. It was very big in the olden days. We had a little booth inside a pharmacy, and so I used to sit there while she had her legs waxed when I was quite little, and I just thought, oh wow, I want to do that when I'm big. So I guess that whole love. When I was in school, I took French because back in the day, a lot of the beauty products were all French based, and so I took that. And then when I finished school, I went to study at Camelot Academy, which is a very elite beauty school in South Africa. Did 2 years, did my Sedesco qualification, got my credits in electrolysis and aromatherapy and reflexology. And then I went and embarked on an amazing career working abroad, cruise ships. I was very shy and reserved as a child, which I know you find that hard to believe because you know how much I love a microphone. And in my secret life, I am a marriage celebrant and MC, but I was very shy and reserved. So I went to work for Steiner Transocean. Of course, when I was studying, I worked for Estee Lauder. I did my, beauty hours at salons, and I learned a lot. Estee Lauder taught me a lot about displays, about being polished, about being proud, about being well groomed. So I got a lot of great value from Estee Lauder, which I've taken to the Circadia clinics even now with displays. Like, it was second to none. Like, as a young woman growing up, that was such great experience. So I embarked working on the cruise ships with Steiner. I ended up starting as a beauty therapist, then built my way to assistant manager and then spa manager. So eventually I was managing spas with 27 employees, fitness instructors, nail technicians, hairdressers. I met my ex-husband now, but a husband at the time. I met him on board a Holland America cruise line, and we decided to settle in Australia after, myself having a career on cruise ships for 11 years. I was originally going to open a Balinese style spa in Cape Town. I had the business plan run up. As a very young woman, I was switched on. I learned this from my mom, to be an entrepreneur, to work hard, to plan. And so unfortunately, I was held up at gunpoint in South Africa and almost killed ultimately. And that gave me a good enough reason to leave. And luckily, I'm here now in Australia. That's how that all happened. And that really gave me that kickstart of, you can drag that sadness and that bad experience into the rest of your life and go, poor me, I was almost killed. I'm a victim. I had my beautiful new engagement ring stole from me. Or you can turn it into reframe it into that gave me a good enough reason to leave. That took me ultimately to a different version of my life. It's like sliding doors, right? You can go this way or that way. Which way do you go? And so that's how I got to Australia. My father was Australian, so I had citizenship from descent. So thank God for that. I got out of South Africa. Now my family are here. I went on to work for Pure Indulgence, managed the big spas, did the whole franchise thing, and then went to manage in therapy, which was a really niche, bespoke, bougie hair beauty salon that went to Just Beauty. Managed it, bought it, nurtured it for 10 years, turned it into this multi-award winning clinic, and sold it a year ago, and did a bit of freelancing with awards and this and that, and then found Circadia, and here I am as their PR manager and caretaking as business development manager for Queensland at the moment, and just loving it. And I feel like I'm really at the pinnacle of my career, and this is where I need to be. And I've got so much experience and love for nurturing our industry, and I just want to, help as many people as I can, really.
Nicola, mind blown. I had no idea you had that experience as a, young person growing up, and then obviously that big impactful event that happened in South Africa that really, I believe now, knowing you and understanding where this passion and the resilience and the strength comes from, I can really see how that kind of would have shaped your belief system about who you are, what's possible, and how you can overcome. So thank you so much for sharing that.
It's just that experience, and I'm really passionate about bringing that to our industry and telling my story. And, might inspire some, might not, but you know what? I'd rather share than not share, because that's what I'm all about.
Oh, look, today we're talking about resilience, we're talking about mindset, and then obviously if those listening to this podcast are either have a career or they have a business, and they're thinking, we've got our challenges, I've got my challenges. How do I use all of this? How do I use this wonderful mentorship to be able to grow and flourish in my own business? And even more pertinent now, the topic about resilience. When we look and we dive deep into this, science and research actually shows that self-belief it's activated from a section of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, right? It increases this thing called problem-solving skills and risk-taking abilities. And I feel like that's probably what happened with yourself. You talk about backing yourself, and you say this so eloquently, and I've heard you say it quite a few times, but what do you actually think happens when you push through fear and self-doubt? And how can we actually train ourselves to do it a little bit more consistently?
Absolutely. So to keep it quite simple, not be too technical, when you push through your fears, your brain quite simply starts rewiring itself. And I know that sounds weird, because a lot of us think your brain's your brain and that's it, but you can rewire your brain. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do a lot in NLP, which is your neuro-linguistic programming, which I'm actually also a new NLP practitioner. But what happens is the amygdala of your brain becomes less reactive when you do that. and your prefrontal cortex gains like more control or power, if you like. And over time, and practice, that self-doubt will no longer be paralyzed by fear, but actually be fueled by action. So all these things with mindset and that, it's great to talk about, but it's actually practice. You actually have to train your brain to do that. And it can be difficult. And I do believe a lot of this comes with experience. And, you know, with the experiences that we have and the self-doubt and all that builds resilience. And if you want something bad enough and you want to be successful at something, you put in the work. And like everything in life, it doesn't just happen. You do need to put in the work. And the start of putting the work in with fear is not being a victim. You can either be on the cause or the effect side of things. So you either say, what is this done to me? Poor me. This did this to me. Or you be, you know what, like the hijacking. This was really shitty. And I was awful. But I could have been killed that day. I didn't. So I got to look for the learnings, accept the responsibility for the part I played, which unfortunately I was in a dangerous country. I was wearing my flashy engagement ring. I was followed with my sister, my stepmom, but I look for the learnings. Maybe the universe is telling me South Africa is not your end path. You need to move to Australia. And I always, as a child, wanted to, you know, when my mom and I had a fight with my mom, I was like, I'm going to move with dad to Australia. I was always like, Australia was always on my card subconsciously. Isn't that weird about mindset, manifestation? My brain, I told myself so many times, I'm going to South Australia. I'm going to Australia. I'm going to Australia. I'm going to Australia. And isn't it weird that now I'm in Australia? But it's just about, you know, practicing. And that's the things just don't happen overnight, unfortunately. And I believe in divine timing as well. I'm an impatient person. I want to run before I walk, or crawl. But, you know, sometimes you just have to trust the process, right? And ride it through. Yeah.
So many of us are paralyzed by fear sometimes, and I feel like we stop ourselves in our tracks in our careers because we think, oh, we're not capable of doing that, or that's my limit. And you're saying practice. So you're saying if you have a fear, you should push through that and experience that scary time so that you can make a breakthrough.
It's all part of growing and learning, right? So there is a study that the only fears you're born with is the fear of, don't quote me exactly on this, but the fear of falling and the fear of noise.
Right.
So as a baby, I believe that's the two things, the fear of falling and the fear of noise. Everything else is self-taught. So for example, I have a fear of spiders. So I'm arachnophobic. But you know what? That's not my fear. I learned that from somebody. So this is a great tip. Like if you've got kids, like all the fears kids bring on, they're scared of clowns. It's because they snuck up on you when you're watching the movie It and they saw it. We are not born with fears. We take them from other people, right? So the fear of being not good enough is because somebody told us some point in our life. And most of this is like from early childhood. Even at school, your teacher in the day might have said, you know, you can't do that, or a school friend said that you can't do that, you can't do that. All this stuff comes from childhood, and we just condition our brains to believing that that's the truth. So it takes a lot of work to come out of that, and I'm really mindful with my daughter now to just positive reinforcement.
I feel like there's a really deep message in there of not just, you know, with our own children and with the next generation, but with ourselves. If we acquire that fear and it's not a real fear, we can overcome it because it's coming
100%.
to us and we can eliminate it.
You've taken that fear from someone else. Maybe we've watched someone else be scared of something and then taken that upon ourselves. Like, for example, I get claustrophobic, right? And I did a lot of work on myself and a lot of courses like Tony Robbins and Cohen Ray. God bless them. I know he just recently passed. And I did a lot of courses and work on myself. And I said to my mom, I just don't understand why I'm so fearful of being claustrophobic in small spaces. And she said, well, funny you said that. When you were little, like 3, your sister locked you in the cupboard and thought it was funny to hide you, so I couldn't find you. So this is what I mean. The things that happen in our child, everything before the age of 7, they say, can really like become who you are.
Mm.
Fear. So therefore, fear of not being good enough is just a lie or a story someone told you. It's not the truth. And although we all struggle with that, even myself, like every day we think, can I do this? Am I good enough? Am I deserving of this?
You were talking about acquiring the fears and there are somebody else's fears and the words and the noise that's caused externally that can impact you. I mean, is there a noisier industry than the beauty and aesthetic industry? It's incredible. You know, there's this theory that cognitive load theory, it's called, and it suggests that too much external noise actually disrupts your focus and your productivity. I feel that this happens to me quite a lot as well. And I speak to so many people and they struggle with the same thing. In our industry, it's saturated with so many opinions, so many trends, fleeting, very quick trends that come and go, a lot of competition. It's an emerging field, even though it's coming into its maturity. How do you actually silence that noise and focus on your vision? Do you have strategies to use that you can stay, mentally disciplined?
Yeah, absolutely. I struggled a lot with that, especially when I first bought in therapy, because you look at everyone else, because you think in your mind, we're all clinic owners, we're the same, but we're not. Everybody's got a different business model. Everyone stocks different products. Everyone has different devices. Even if you have the same devices as somebody else, we're completely different, right? What I've done a lot of research and work on is different personalities and different styles of learning. We all learn differently. Some like to hear it and then they can execute. I'm visionary. I like to see. I'm very visual. And I think a lot of us in the industry are absolutely visual, right? I'm also undiagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm ADHD. So I'll go from one thing to another thing to another thing. But when I'm interested in something, I do that really well. And I'm really good at that. So what I've had to do to believe in myself and shut out the noise is really be really mindful of social media. It's so easy to sit there at night and scroll and stalk and go, oh my God, they're doing that. Should I do that special? Should I do that? And have that fear of missing out. But really what I had to do is stay in your lane, stay focused to your brand values, to your core audience, and to the message you're trying to bring across and what you're trying to be known as in the industry. Because very few clinics, I believe, can do everything very well. Most people skin or brows or whatever you are, you need to really know your brand story. And that's a whole different topic of going in and knowing about what your core values are and your brand message and branding, really, right? But things I did to keep myself on track is celebrate small wins. Yeah, we don't do that enough. So like, yay, I got 2 new clients this week or whatever I did, right? And do that with your team as well, because we don't do that enough. We're always great at talking about things that aren't going right, but not so good at talking about things that are going right. So celebrating small wins. But I like to visualize. So I visualized myself being successful and just
I
stepping
love that.
proud. And it's really a process. You have to really practice that and visualize yourself. And elite athletes actually do that. They see themselves crossing the finish line. And there is that power of the mind, right? So visualizing success and I've always strived being different and not being the best, because when you're different, you're being uniquely yourself. So if someone does want to try and copy you or cross over, they can try. But if you're being uniquely you, then it's very hard for someone to imitate you, because we're all different. But this comes with experience and life and learning. And that's why sometimes shitty things have to happen. And shitty things have happened to me in business, but you need that. And at the time, you're like, oh my God, I want to give up. It's a stepping stone onto something bigger. Now, what I love, and I have it even on my coffee cup, is my Wonder Woman, because I'm known in the industry for my red lips. I used to have red nails, but now I do the all French, like we did in the 90s. But I believe in the Wonder Woman pose. So when you're having a shitty day, or you feel like you're going into a big meeting, or you need to feel empowered, standing up and putting your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman, sticking your breast out and just taking a nice deep breath. And that Wonder Woman pose is done quite often in the animal kingdom, when birds and they fluff each other up because they're trying to look bigger and taller and stronger. The whole thing about overcoming your beliefs is really doing some work on yourself and really sitting down and saying, what do I do well and why? Because as I've moved on in the industry, and I've been in the industry for 26 years, I've worked with some great clinic owners who might have actually been my competition in the day. And as I've spoken to them, are different. So like I mentioned, I'm more ADHD. I jump from one thing to another thing to another thing. It works for me. But I know clinic owner friends who are like OCD. They work with schedules and blocking and this and that and routines and everything's at a set time, where that's not me. And that's okay. And the problem is when you're trying to imitate another salon or another clinic or business owner, it's not your truth or your authenticity. So it's really, you've got to put the work in about yourself as a person first and then move that onto your business. Because you try and be someone you're not, it's going to shine. It's going to show through that you're not being authentic.
You know, you were talking about staying in your own lane. And by the way, I love the Wonder Woman pose. That's actually reminds me of Amy Cuddy's talk on TED Talk. It was a very famous talk about
Yes,
your cortisol levels reducing when you do
100%.
Wonder Woman pose, and your testosterone levels, good testosterone levels rising, and it increases your confidence. And even if you don't feel it doing the pose, within 2 minutes, your hormones, your hormone balance changes. Cortisol down, testosterone up. So it's really awesome that you have that mug.
It's so funny because I love that podcast. And, you know, it just goes
Great.
to show there's a lot more going on in our minds and bodies and hormones and this and that than we know. So sometimes you got to not think about so much about why is it doing that? How is that working? And not question it so much and just do it.
Well, it's biofeedback, right? Your brain talks to your body. You know, when you want to move your hand, your brain says hand move, but we don't actually think that our body talks to our brain and our body talks to itself. So when you're standing in a strong pose, what happens is it tells your brain, I'm confident, produce some confidence hormones. If you're standing in a weak pose, it tells your brain, you're not confident, produce some stress hormones, please. So it actually feeds back to your brain. And it's so incredible that you mentioned that, because there's not that many people I know that really know their stuff so in depth, to bring that up. You're talking about staying in your own lane. That's focus, right? So the zygamic effect, there's this effect that says that any unfinished task creates mental stress. But on the other hand, high achievers such as yourself use structured focus to actually avoid this overwhelm. You ran multiple clinics, over a decade and that honestly in itself, it requires kind of relentless focus. What psychological shifts do you think you can make to handle that level of responsibility without actually burning out? Because I see you getting energized from this rather than burning out.
Yeah, I know. I've had multiple people over my career say, you're going to burn out, you're going to burn out, you're going to burn out, right? I think a lot of that comes from my background and watching how hard my mum worked. And we, in South Africa, nothing was handed to us. We just worked. If you didn't work, you didn't get paid. That was that simple. There was no, what's the thing we have going on now where they give you money if you can't find a job? There was none of that. So it was like you work or you don't. So I think South Africans, generally speaking, I'm not saying Australians aren't, I'm just saying South Africans have a really strong work culture because we were raised like that, right? It's all, the first 7 years of your life, I watched my mum do crazy stuff. So I think the whole thing about the noise and everything is just going back into, and the things I've had to do to be successful is taking the time out for yourself. I'm still practicing this. I'm not great at work-life balance. I think no entrepreneurs really are. I mean, in our industry and also being a marriage celebrant, do we have that 9 to 5? I think what I've learned, and definitely working with Cicadia, I like to work a lot at night because I'm not disturbed and I get really creative at night. I'm a night owl. For example, I've been told by multiple people and multiple successful people, no. You go to bed at 9 o'clock and you wake up at 4 a.m. But who says that's the most productive? That might work for them. But when they're sleeping at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I'm up working till 11, 12, and I might wake up at 7 or 8. So there's no wrong and right. It's just what works for you. I found meditation's been great.
Right.
So morning meditation, even if it's 5 minutes.
What do you do?
I just listen to meditation on my phone. I also go to bed with, I've got this great eye mask that actually is Bluetoothed and it plays music because I struggle sometimes to just shut out. If I'm lying in bed, my brain's going, hey, don't forget that, don't forget that. And I struggle to turn the volume down in my brain. So I find listening to music really helps, like soft music. When I'm writing or I'm trying to produce some information, or if I'm doing a blog, I like playing jazz because subconsciously your brain just goes. And actually, when I
I
wrote,
like that.
co-authored the book Back Yourself, that's what I did. I played jazz. I didn't even know I liked jazz until then. I just said, I need something that's just it in that background, like white noise almost, right? Because that complete silence, you start kind of overthinking then. So meditation, um, finding what works for you. Who says you have to be up at 4 o'clock? I know a lot of people in our industry love that. They're up at 4 a.m., but they shut down at 9. But I am more productive the other way around. So it's what works for you. And really just understanding that we all different. It's not just you're a clinic owner, I'm a clinic owner. We're both clinic owners, but we're different people. Yeah, you might walk into a clinic that's polished and nothing's out of place, and your clinic's maybe not as polished, but you're better at better things. And it's just there's not one blanket rule that we all have to be the same. And I think we fit into this mold, and everybody watches each other on social media and says, oh, well, they got that, I should get that equipment. And it might not be aligned with what your clients want.
There's so many decisions to make in our industry, right? You talk about analysis paralysis, and the last time we spoke, you said that, and my ears pricked up, and I thought, oh goodness, this is something we could all relate to. Your brain has an actual bottleneck when too many choices. You were talking about the amygdala. It activates the amygdala and triggers the stress response when you have too many choices. So many entrepreneurs and business owners actually freeze when they have to make pretty
Yeah.
big decisions. Have you actually experienced analysis paralysis?
Oh
And
my
what's your
God.
strategy to get over that?
Okay, so I experience like analysis paralysis weekly. So a good example for those that don't know, it's like you're so fearful of making the wrong choice that you end up making no choice at all. So I always say done is better than perfect. These people are like, I'm working on my prices. It's
Oh, I
coming,
love that.
working on it, my website. Just get it out there and you can fine tune it later. But you're so scared of producing something or specials or offers that aren't right that you just end up not doing it. So, with analysis paralysis, a really great book, and I think you also follow Mel Robbins, right? She writes a great book called
Incredible.
The 5 Second Rule, and she goes right 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. So say you're in the shops for argument's sake, or you're going to talk to a client, or you're going to approach somebody, right? Okay, great example, right? I was in Coles on Sunday after Pilates, looked like absolute crap, like just daggy. I'm in Coles in the veggie section, and I turn around, this lady like looks and smiles at me, and I smile at her, like we know each other, but we don't know each other. And it was Tabitha Coffee. She's
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful. I've met her.
in
She's
my
great.
local Coles. So I thought, right, I could either just go do nothing, or I just go meh. So I did the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and went right up to her, and I went, "Hi, Tabitha. What are you doing in Springfield Coles? Like weird. My name's Nicola. I work for Cicadia Australia, and we're a skincare brand. And so great to see you. I've been to so many of your things, and like I was like shaking, and she's like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. We should be in touch. We should be in friends." We were supposed to go have coffee yesterday, but she's flying to New York today, and we exchanged WhatsApps. We're now messaging each other, and it was a connection. So overcoming your fears, or like, what if she thinks, "Oh my God, who the hell are you? I'm shopping with my family. You're daggy." Like I just went with conviction. This is who I am.
That's courage.
It
That I admire.
it was so exciting that I was like, sometimes the universe presents you with opportunities, and you can be fearful and just be like, not take the opportunity, but then you might kick yourself afterwards and say, why not? So now I introduced her to Cicadia. So she messaged me that night going, oh, my sister-in-law have just been on the Cicadia website. These look cool. And her and I have been trying to connect.
That is the typical Nicola, honestly, like really building your tribe. And you always say, find your tribe. And this is one extreme way of doing it, which is an incredible way of doing it. I wish I had your courage to do that too. I should do it more often. We've got this thing in our brains, and it's called mirror neurons. And in the brain, it helps us kind of connect or wire us to the people that we surround ourselves with, right? It affects your confidence and it risk taking, like you just did, and emotional resilience. And those are the neurons that are in our head. They're called mirror neurons. But you emphasize that importance of finding your tribe, like what you just did. From a science perspective, our environment sort of shapes our potential, as you can see. How did your network evolve, and what should listeners look for in their own tribe, apart from going up to complete strangers and introducing themselves?
Well, you want people that resonate with you. I say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Right.
And I like to be around people that actually sometimes, like, I'm like, oh my God, they know so much more than me. They're so much better than me. But those are people I want to learn from, right? So you want to not be the smartest person in the room. You want to look at who's in your room. And I always say, and I think, was it Ron? I always get his name wrong. Said, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So you don't have to have a big tribe. And I think you might agree with me, as we get older, your friendship circles also shrink, right? Because you learn who's for you and against you. And, people change, they do that, you do that. But you just connect yourself and surround yourself with the people that you resonate with, you have the right beliefs. And as long as you're being true and authentic, you're going to attract those people.
Circadia provides skincare professionals with innovative, science-backed solutions rooted in chronobiology, studying the body's natural circadian rhythms. Circadia's products are formulated with cutting-edge ingredients backed by rigorous scientific research to ensure effectiveness and safety for all skin types. Circadia offer a comprehensive, award-winning range of products and treatments to address various skin concerns and extensive educational support via the Circadia Online University. Discover the range at circadia.com.au today.
Everything we're talking about today, Steph, comes back down to what's your core values, what's your belief system. And that's where we need to sit down and make a list of what's important to me, what makes me me. I talk a lot. Some people I might irritate the crap out of some people and go, God, don't bring her near me. She talks too much. But other people like, bring Nicola, because I don't like to talk and she'll talk and she'll make, so people, or example with Circadia, they'll put me up on the stage because that's my strength. It's all about, we all got strengths and weaknesses, right? Doesn't mean I don't, because I'm out there, it doesn't mean I'm not struggle with my own limiting beliefs. Of course I do. But it's just sitting down and making that list and having that hard discussion with yourself, saying, all right, so Steph, who am I? What am I good at? What value do I add to my people around me? And not trying to be someone you're not. And I guess they don't talk about this enough, I think, at school and growing up. Everyone has to be the certain way, right? Everyone has to do good at maths. Everyone has to do good at this. When I was at school, I did so well at cooking, and I remember we had to set a table. My table nailed it. They said, pretend you're in a restaurant, select one kind of theme. So I went Italian. My mom had these cute, like, Italian salt and pepper shakers, and I set a beautiful table because I was creative. Where the other ones might have had the best menu, mine was basic. So we're all different. And I think we're all trying to, although we're in the same industry, we need to lean on our strengths and weaknesses. And we can't be everything all of the time.
Behind you, there's a find your courage to become uniquely you, right? I think when you say put me on stage and I'm comfortable, a lot of people find that really intimidating. They want to progress their career. They want to be a voice. They want to tell people what they think, but they don't feel that they can get up and speak about their message. What's your trick to speaking fearlessly?
A lot of people say pretend everybody's naked. I don't no, don't do that. I do this great exercise, and I know you're going to share my website and my details later, and I'm happy to talk anyone through this, especially when you're accepting award speeches. And we're going to tap it a little bit on awards, is that peripheral vision. So I just look out and along, and I actually open up my brain to looking at things further than just focusing on what's in front of me. It's called peripheral vision. It's a great thing. You concentrate on a spot in the wall, and then you just look at it and then open your eyes more. It's really scientific, but it's called peripheral vision, and that's really good to do when you're out there. Obviously, when you talking about something, you want to be a bit more prepared and know what you're saying. Not everybody's going to want to be on a stage. You might be really strong at coaching small teams on treatments. Then that's one thing I'm I struggle a little bit with. I'm not maybe as technical with skin as some are, but I'm better at empowering, and we're not all the same. So it's sitting down and going and asking your friends and close family, what do you think I'm good at? What have I taught you that you think helped you? And I didn't realize I was actually helping people. I was just doing what I do until people said, wow, you inspired me. Wow, that made a difference. I was just being myself. So it's figuring out the messages you're bringing to people, getting that validation, that social proof. I love a bit of social proof. So, for example, all those times where I sit down and think I'm not good enough, I actually have a folder that has pictures, clippings of me from a newspaper and awards I've won. And so it's social proof. So when your brain goes, no, 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 you can't do that, which is going to happen, that's normal. You just say, actually, this is the visual social proof that I did it. So I acknowledge that you're trying to protect me from that flight or fight. Our brain wants to do that and go, no, 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 I want to keep you safe. Don't do that. That's scary. But you can go, yeah, I appreciate you, ego, and subconscious. I know you're trying to protect me. Thank you. But actually, I got this because this shows I have done it. So it's just acknowledging that. And that brings me on to my alter egos, which is, I do the Wonder Woman pose and the red lipstick because that makes me believe I'm putting on a superhero cape and I can be anything I want. Others might have a great pair of heels or a beautiful handbag or whatever your thing is, right? Your hair. But I have these alter egos, right? My psychologist goes, right, whatever, Nicola. So it's friends, right? So I have Rachel, Monica, Phoebe. And
that's just
Monica,
beyond great.
so Monica comes out of me and she goes, really? Really? And I'm like, Monica, thanks. You can go now. Or like the Phoebe comes out of me and I get clumsy and I acknowledge that when I'm just lazy and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I'm like, thanks, Phoebe, for visiting. Okay, time to get back to more with my Rachel. So it sounds weird. And but
it's a revelation is what it is.
We all have different times that we're different people within ourselves. I'm not trying to say that we're like schizophrenic or something. I don't mean that, but I think it's fun to find what resonates with you and go, I'm going to bring out my inner, or you could do Sex and the City, right? That's fun as well. Like someday you might be Miranda and you'd be like, come, let's get to work. And someday you might be, Carrie, or you might be Samantha. And, you can find what works for you and actually understand you have different times where you're different parts of yourself. And sometimes you're fearful, sometimes you're nervous, sometimes you're scared, sometimes you're brave. Those are all emotions that will pass. That doesn't make you who you are. So figuring out who you are. I'm Nicola. I'm kind. I'm empathetic. I'm genuine. I believe I'm put here to help others. Yes, I have problems where I people please and people walk all over me or take advantage of me. But you know what? You got to take the balance of it and knowing who you are and the value you bring to others and figuring that out and then acknowledging all the other fears and everything that happens is just passing emotions and not holding on to them too much has been really a lot of work and soul searching to figure that out.
I literally came away from that little segment that you've just spoken about with 3 things that I can go and action in my life right now that I know tomorrow will make it better for me. And one of them is you just blew my mind when you talked about the friends and the Sex and the City. I think I relate to the Sex and the City tribe, but I feel like we are different people at different times, and it's okay to tap into that personality that serves you at that particular time and then move out of that when that no longer serves you in that state.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just like this too shall pass. Is that saying this too shall pass? And I'm saying that now with us waiting for the cyclone, this too shall pass. Everything that happens is just a wave of taking us closer to where we're supposed to be. So I had a really scary decision to sell my clinic a year ago. I was there for 10 years and it's been standing for 24 years. And I always thought my daughter would follow my footsteps. And I sat her down. I said, Chloe, how do you feel about mummy selling in therapy? Because, I thought that was what's important to her. She goes, yeah, I don't care. So I was like, right, why am I holding on to this legacy that she is going to follow my footsteps? Because that's not what she wants. And that's okay. So I was like, right, I'm going to sell it because I know I'm destined for something better and I don't know what, and I'm scared. But I sold it and then let me do a bit of freelancing, a bit of here. I worked with Deb Fine with Wood. I've worked with Danielle Dwyer from Bobby Charles. I've worked with a few different influential people and then ended up with Cicadia. And I'm so happy. And it's funny, you always think at the time, this is my life. This isn't going to change. But tell me, like, it's changing, you're evolving, you're growing all the time. Even if you don't feel it, you are. So keeping a gratitude journal, keeping that social proof folder, even if it's something silly like, I don't know, you got this at school or someone said something nice, you got a great comment on Google, just put it in front of you. If you're visual like me, I like to see it. Some people put it on their phone or, computers, or I'm an old pen and paper girl, but do what works for you and have that. So when your brain says, no, you actually can't do that. You can say, yeah, thank you. Thank you for protecting me. That's what you're there for. But actually, I've got this. And you got to just feel the fear and do it anyway.
I like that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's the only way you're going to push through, right? You just touched on earlier the awards, and obviously you're a multiple award winner. Awards make you feel good, right? That they release dopamine in your brain, and when we achieve recognition, and it really does reinforce our motivation and our confidence. How important do you think external validation is in business, and does it fuel motivation? Do you think we require it, or it becomes kind of a dependency when we need that external validation?
I think a bit of both. So my love language is words of affirmation. I love it as an employee, and I was very conscious as an employer to tell people, great job, well done, you got this. And like go, okay, so we didn't do that great, but we did this great, that positive reinforcement. Unfortunately, growing up as a child, I didn't have a lot of that. So I suppose, that first 7 years of your life we spoke about, I was always seeking someone to say, well done, well done. My mum was really busy. She was a high-powered real estate agent. She was successful. And I'm thankful I learned so much from what I did. But the downside of that was she wasn't always there to go, well done in ballet. Like you nailed that. And I do that with my daughter now because I'm mindful. So I've always been seeking that. So awards for me, while it's an amazing reflection on your business and how far you've come and celebrating wins, something I brought my ABIA with me, holding that award for me, being a visual, was like, I did it. Yay. So it depends what motivates you as a person. Some people don't care. They're like, we know we do it. We don't need awards. I liked it because that made me feel initially that I was good enough. And yes, it became like, look, I've never taken cocaine, but I suppose something like that, or it was like addictive, like, I want to feel that again and again and again. And then it became like, I want to enter everything. And I did. And I loved it so much because it gave me I'm good enough. I'm good enough. Sure, it was disheartening when I didn't win some things. Of course, that was disheartening. But at the same time, it was a learning curve for me to know that, you know what, you can't always win, but it's nice to hand that to someone else and watch someone else go through that as well. So being empathetic and not selfish as well as part of the process, right? But for me, yes, it can become dependent. But I think entering awards is definitely a greater reflection of your business, even if you become a finalist or not. Being a finalist is amazing and winning is like exceptional, but it depends what kind of person you are. I like to have those in my clinic and be like, yay, look at us. You could do this another way with Google reviews. Not a lot of people are tapping into Google reviews. So you could do it that way and be like, my client said this about me. Or having a board in your back room with things that clients have said. Like I might be at reception and someone comes and goes, oh, Steph did the most amazing treatment. She's always so consistent in her facials and so always whatever. And you can go and write that. So I think visually seeing something that we've achieved, whether it's an award, a Google review, whatever the case may be, definitely plays a psychological effect on your psyche, if you like. But for me, yeah, I'm a type of person who loves external validation personally. Not that I need it, because I've learned now that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of me, but it's what I think of me. And that's what I love about working with Rachel from Cicadia. She doesn't care what anyone thinks. We do what we do. We stay in our lane. And yes, there's people that don't like that and might want to pull us down. But you know what? I call it the crabs in the bucket mentality. You're going to love this, right?
Oh, I love it already.
In a bucket of crabs, it's very barbaric. If you Google it, actually don't Google it because it's really barbaric.
Oh, no.
So when you get a bucket or barrel of crabs, there's one at the bottom, and all these crabs, and they make a ladder so one can crawl out. But because they don't want that one to get out, and then they're all stuck, they pull it back, and sometimes they rip off limbs and things. It's barbaric, right? Sort of like tall poppy syndrome. So if one crab gets out, the rest are left there, and they've got that scarcity mindset. But what if they made a little ladder and they all crawled out together? So you really got to think about, we've all had crabs before, I always say, and I don't
cheeky.
You need a lotion from the doctor type of way, but we've all had crabs. We've all got crabs, people trying to pull us down. And, I really believe in, let's all get out together and let's all succeed together and help each other. Then just one gets out and the rest fizzle out, So that's my crab in the bucket mentality. And I love that because we can all think about who's in our bucket and who's going to help us build that ladder. And going back to finding your tribe, those are the people you want to align yourself with. Might not be people it might be online groups, it might be community groups, could be family, could be friends. Just find the people that when you walk away from them, you go, damn, I got a lot. And that's how I feel about you, by the way. You're in my bucket.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same way about you too. And so many people in our industry just really don't understand the value that they bring to the other person. We're all busy thinking about, what are we doing today? And, how can I help my business and how can I help myself? But a lot of the time when we come together, honestly, more about sharing and more about helping comes up rather than about competition. But there is this underlying tall poppy syndrome. You've just addressed it. Let's talk about it for a sec, because it is happening in our industry. It happens in Australia. It is a very uniquely Australian thing. I've actually spoke with people from overseas, and they know this concept because of this is a very uniquely Australian thing that we do. I feel like in our industry, there is a little bit of that going on still. How do you feel about that, and how do you overcome that?
Look, there's always going to be somebody who's going to want to bring you down, and you got to focus on the value adding to your clients, your team, and what you're doing. And that goes with staying in your lane, right? And really, as women, we can be emotional and we can be reactive. And myself being a people pleaser, of course, nobody wants to know that somebody doesn't like them or whatever the situation is. But it's really focusing on, you do you and I'll do me. And there's no wrong or right, but really what you think about me has got nothing to do about me, like with me. And you can't control what other people say and do. And I had this very early on as a clinic owner where I was trying to find out who I was. So I would watch all the social media and go, oh my God, I don't have that equipment. I don't have that product. What am I doing wrong? They're better than me. You got to remember, so many people on social media, and I know of clinics who are like, blah, we're doing so well. Look at our beautiful new clinic. And they're not. So you can't believe everything you see and the perception, right? But it all comes down really, Steph, to cutting out the noise. And I understand it's super hard. It comes with experience. It comes with success. It comes with failure, because really you don't learn unless I might be successful, but I've done so many things so wrong and I've had to grow from that. Right. But when you realize that it's greater than just your clinic and my clinic, we're an industry as a whole.
Yes.
And that's what I love about being part of ABIC. We're together in this. We're all the crabs in the bucket making the ladder. It's just something you've got to overcome and learn. And there's got to be people that are going to be with us and against us. And that's completely okay. We've all got choices, right? So it's what you choose to do. But ultimately, it's about staying in your lane, sticking to what your business, why your business is different, why your business is unique, and the value you bring in your clients. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what another clinic thinks about you. It matters what your clients think about you and your team thinks about you, because they're the ones bringing in the bread and butter and doing the hard work in your business. So take more of an inward approach. What are we doing? How can we do things better? Are we adding enough value to our clients? Yeah, it's great to get ideas from other clinics. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Maybe we can try that. Might not work, fine, but not concentrating what everyone else is doing, because it might not work for your business model, but just concentrating on your team, your clients, and looking after them.
You know, pulling in so many factors and so many ideas that you've shared in this podcast together, you are Wonder Woman, if you will. You do PR, obviously, for Cicadia, and you were talking about, you know, brands out there and clinics out there that maybe put in a perception to the public and to the community that they're doing really well, when possibly they might be struggling with some aspects, you know, not full transparency there. Obviously, we have a public image, right? And we need publicity. In being in PR yourself, we feel like there's a fine line between, you know, strategic messaging and then having that real connection, you know, that without false pretenses. What do you think clinics and brands sometimes get wrong when they try to build influence? And how has your approach with Cicadia in particular challenged traditional PR norms? Because they do outside of the box, right? And you do that very well.
Yeah, so I think, you know, with the traditional, like, you know, your PR and your magazines and media and stuff, that's all great. But I think a lot of brands don't necessarily speak with authenticity. You know, sometimes people pick that up and don't. And I think a lot of brands will make claims, and I'm not specific about being specific about anyone here, but they don't have the social proof. So social proof is really important, and saying, not just saying we do this, but going, yeah, we do this, great, because look at our before and afters, right? So that's really important to have the authenticity, the social proof, and also really finding out, you know, and having that emotional connection, because, you know, that feel good factor, like, you know, like when you watch Coke ads, they're all drinking Coke together. And actually, Evian did it really well. Did you ever watch the ad where they had the baby, the people on the?
Oh, yes, dancing. I saw that one. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that made an emotional connection, right? And if you noticed anything about that ad, and this is what I love about Cicadia, is they're inclusive. No matter what your skin color, no matter what your gender, no matter what your race, Cicadia caters to all Fitzpatricks, and not a lot of brands go out loud. So if you look at our marketing, there's different colors and races, and I think that's great. And I think it's very 2025. A lot of brands don't do that. You know, it's typical of clothing stores. I'm never going to be a skinny woman, and then you go in and they're all like tiny mannequins.
Yeah.
You see that now where they've got the fuller figures, and I think that's great, and that's the emotional connection. What I love as well about Cicadias and PR, you've got that like hero story, and it's like, whoa, this is how we evolved. And with Cicadia, it's Peter Pugliese, right? He started all this about, you know, studies on peptides and stuff like that. And, you know, he did all this stuff. And we have the social proof. We have the textbooks he's written. We have the history. We have the studies. And I guess what a lot of brands don't do well is transparency, right? What I love about Cicadia is we have this vertical integration. So you can go and see our factory in the States. You can see things being made on social media. We show the Cicadia America, showed all the big vats of like the superberry mask going around and how we make it. It's all done in one place. We're very transparent about the percentage of ingredients. A lot of companies aren't. So the transparency as a brand is really important, and also really important in PR.
You can take away this message. Obviously, it's not just brands, it's brands, clinics, your own personal brand, you know, transparency, all these things that you're talking about resonate. If you own a clinic or a salon or a spa, everything that you're saying resonates through your own brand.
Well, I think to sum it up, you need to make your people the main characters and not your product. So you'll notice we do talk about product, but if you follow Cicadia, we talk a lot about the people who use it, i.e. before and afters, stockists, clients, and not just about the brand. So when you see Nike, they don't just go, this is our shoe, blah, blah. It's got this support, that support, pillar, this, whatever, I don't know. But you see the athletes running and them winning the race wearing the Nikes. So it's about the people, and Cicadia do that so well. And we do staying in our lane so well. Sure, there's people trying to pull us down, but we're so united in being, and myself, this fits really well with my core values of being different, not necessarily the best. We're not trying to say we want to be better than everyone. We want to connect emotionally with our stockists. We want them to understand that what we're all about is education. We give that to you for free to anybody. We're so inclusive. To anybody can join Cicadia University. That is like an untapped resource. Maybe we'll put a link somewhere for that, right? So anyone can sign up. We're inclusive of all races. We're, the circadian rhythms really talk to that emotional, that connection to people, with how your body, works on getting your body into circadian rhythms. And we talk about shift workers and, having to use day skincare at night because they're awake. Makes sense, right?
It really does, doesn't it?
And behind computers. So we take that whole circadian rhythms. So I just feel so aligned with the brand. I feel really grateful that I found a brand that ticks so many of my personal boxes. I think for anybody who's looking for a brand or wanting to work with a brand or wanting to represent a brand, to really look at those kind of things, besides, of course, the animal cruelty. We do a lot for charity as well. I'm sure in the latest edition of Mocha Beauty, we talk about our Michael, and I know you spoke to him about this, I think, pledged the $10,000 to the Kniebler Wombat. So we're actually doing good. We're aligning ourselves with charity. Also, we have, and I always have this trusty with me, our lip balm, our hibiscus lip balm, and we raised $60,000 for breast cancer by doing this. So we give back to our community. We're not just about making money and being the best. Of course, we're a business, we want to be successful, but I love the fact that we don't care what other people think about us. We do what we do because we know our values.
And another way that Cicadia give back is that they are foundation members of the ABIC, and that is speaking volumes because ABIC is basically the foundations for our industry and our future. Help to sculpt that framework for, a more sustainable, more successful future for us all. And, being foundation members, you're an extremely important part of that. And in the word, it says foundation, you actually help us to help shape the industry as well. So thank you so much for your incredible donation and incredible generosity to be able to support the industry that way as well.
Of course, it's all about the legacy we leave behind, right? And not building this industry for us, but for our future. And I think it's a selfless act. And that's why, you connect with the people you connect with, like us. We got common ground and Cicadia as well. But we're very transparent, and I love that. So anybody can actually open a wholesale industry account where you can buy retail at wholesale to try our products. I don't know any other brand that does it, as well as we don't sell online. So we're really, we got our values, and that will never change. So that's why I love it. Plus being 98% medical and like being in my 40s, like I just love it personally. But back to, my message, I wrote this all, I don't know, I think a lot of people know that I co-authored this book called Back Yourself.
Yes, a lot of people know that. And that's the title of our podcast today. I stole it from your beautiful book.
Yeah. And I got involved in this project, and I got invited to take part. There's, I think, 23 of us from different industries. And we got to choose a chapter, and the overthinking and analysis paralysis I went through with this, and the days I beat myself up and thought I wasn't good enough, but I just felt the fear and did it anyway. And that book in 2020 went into the Oscar goodie bags. We became Amazon #1 bestsellers. And I was still hoping that Tom Hardy would open it and see my photo and be like, oh my God, it's the woman of my dreams. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. But, reading and listening to podcasts, and instead of jamming to music in your car, if you're driving distances, download podcasts. Mel Robbins, I love her. Besides the 5-second rule, she's just come up with a great one called the Let Them Theory, and it's amazing. So if anyone's into podcasts and Audible and that kind of jazz, obviously she's a great person to follow, Mel Robbins.
Yeah, she is wonderful. I also am addicted to Diary of a CEO at the
Oh,
moment as
yes.
well. Oh, so great. And there's so many incredible mentors out there. And, Nicola, you're actually one of them. So I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your gems of insight. Honestly, I've actually walked away with actionable, and I listen to at least 1 or 2 podcasts a day in my transition time. And, whether that's driving or while I'm cleaning or anything like that, I'm always learning and listening. It's one of the things that one of my core values is growth. And a lot of the times I come back with great things. I write them down and they're actionable and I try to act on them. But I am going to do 2 things right away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As soon as we get off this podcast, I'm going to start a folder for my, my proof, my social proof that, hey, there is value to what I do and what we do through ABIC. Absolutely there is. And there should be a folder out there for myself to remember that. And my personalities. I'm going to go away and action those 2 things right away. So thank you so much.
I know you're going to be walking in the shops and being like,
I'm
Phoebe,
Samantha right now.
Samantha, and we're different people at different times, and that's okay. I don't mean, like I said, we're all like bipolar or anything, but I think you have a lot of fun with it. And be like, Monica's always telling me, Nicola, you can't sit and watch a show. Are you crazy? Got so much work to do. Now I just go, Monica, chill out, pour yourself a glass of wine. It's okay,
Yeah.
tomorrow. And that's how I do it. I mean, it works for me. So it might work for you, it may not. But yeah, just staying in your lane, being authentic, finding who those people in your crab bucket are and the people you want to surround yourself with. Because they always, like Oprah Winfrey says, surround yourself with people take you higher. If you're the smartest person in the room, if you're the best, then who are you going to learn from, right? You want to always be growing, but you also want to be learning. So if there's someone who's doing something you want to do, ask them how you did it. If someone came to me, I'll genuinely tell them. So the people who don't want to tell you, oh no, I don't talk about my secrets, then those not your people, right? But if someone goes, hey, how did you do that? Can you show me? Yeah, absolutely. I love to.
It's beautiful. Where can people actually find Back Yourself and connect with you?
So on my website, nicolalelievre.com, I have my book. There is a store you can get the book from. Also, if anybody wants to ever connect with me, I have a calendar in there. And I'd be happy if anyone wanted to find me on social media or just reach out. You can email me, nicola@cicadia.com.au as well. If anybody has any questions about Cicadia or just wants to stop in and say, hey.
Thank you so much for your time today. And I know that everyone listening has just come away with incredible gems of wisdom. So thank you so much. And I can't wait till you're on the podcast next.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.